From winning 3 rings in a row together as bitter rivals to a legendary boxer's downfall after a clash with his nemesis. These are the biggest athlete beefs. You can't talk about big beef without first getting into the beef of 2 of the most famous names in NBA history. Yup, I'm talking about Kobe Bryant versus Shaquille O'Neal. Being a mountain of a man himself, Shaq knows a thing or two about having a larger-than-life score to settle. When Shaq went to the Lakers in '96 as a free agent, he wanted to join the rarefied air of legendary Lakers big men like Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But instead, he teamed up with Kobe Bryant, a newcomer who made the All-Star game in his 2nd season. It was clear Shaq thought he was the best player in the NBA. But there was debate if he was even the best on his own team. Even when they netted 3 rings together from 1999 to 2002, there was intense fighting. Shaq believed Kobe was a ball hog and used crossovers just to be flashy, and it caused quite a few turnovers for the Lakers. While Kobe thought Shaq was in very poor shape, and he could have done much better to be prepared at team practices. Over the next few years, they continued to take shots at each other. From Shaq saying the full team is here when Kobe was not at the training camp, to Kobe not attending any team events or dinners, even going as far as not inviting them to his wedding. The internal feud finally ended in 2004 when Shaq was traded to Miami, which meant the two were destined to meet next year on Christmas Day. The Lakers-Miami Christmas game scored the highest ratings since 1998. Proof that NBA fans were turning in for the vicious rivalry between the 2 former teammates. After their years-long separation, they mended their professional relationship in 2009, and Shaq came out to say the entire feud between him and Kobe was fabricated by former NBA player and coach Phil Jackson. Their new bromance intensified when Kobe passed Shaq on the all-time scoring list in 2012. And O'Neal responded that he was proud of Bryant's accomplishments. Even though their rivalry was fierce, at least Shaq ended up on good terms before Bryant's untimely death in 2020. When it comes to internal struggles, we can't help but bring up ancient 90s history. That's right, we're going to talk about the Cleveland Indians' Omar Vizquel versus Jose Mesa. The year is 1997, and the Indians are in the World Series again. After losing it 2 years earlier in 1995 to the Atlanta Braves, this time the Indians found themselves playing against the Florida Marlins. They were actually up a run in the bottom of the 9th inning when Jose Mesa, the closing pitcher, tries his best to rout the Marlins. But by the end of the inning, the game was tied up and eventually was lost in extra innings. In his autobiography, Omar Vizquel, shortstop for the Indians, said Jose Mesa lacked passion, and Jose took that very personally. When Mesa ended up on the other side of the mound over the next few seasons, he tried his best to hit Omar with a pitch every single time they faced off. Jose even said, "Even my little boy told me to get him. If I face him 10 more times, I'll hit him 10 times. I want to kill him." Well, that's a tad extreme. In any case, the last time Omar was hit by Mesa was in 2006, and it turned into a brawl with both teams' dugouts emptied. Several players and managers were immediately ejected. It got so bad that MLB brass had to step in and stop the feud. After the manager of the San Francisco Giants complained to the media saying, "I believe someone should investigate why Vizquel keeps getting hit by this guy. They need to stop it." Jose Mesa was given a 4-day suspension for his latest beanbag to Vizquel. But Mesa wasn't deterred, and after that, he vowed never to hit Omar purposefully again. Mesa ended up making good on his promise, but the feud eventually faded into MLB history. Speaking of complaining to the media, there was another beef that also faded away with time. I wouldn't be good at my job if I didn't talk about Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers feuding within the Green Bay Packers. The beef starts at the top of the 2005 NFL Draft, when Aaron Rodgers was drafted as quarterback in the very first round. Rodgers came onto the draft hot, after leading the University of California to 10 wins and only 1 loss. It was even thought that he might go to the San Fran Giants first, but Aaron would instead fall to number 24 to the Packers. This was very much to the dismay of Brett Favre. Brett knew what this meant. He was officially old news, and eventually Rodgers would be his replacement. In a now infamous quote by Brett, he comes right out with his dissatisfaction saying, There's no clause that says, you groom the next guy who's going to take your job or else. It doesn't work that way. While Favre came out the gate bitter almost immediately, Aaron seemed almost media prepped for this very situation. And when asked how he'd fill the shoes of Brett Favre, he said, "I don't think you can ever replace a legend." But his humble words wouldn't mean much. Favre and backup quarterback Craig Nall would play relentless pranks on him, from high school antics like claiming he was homosexual, to tricking him into graffitiing his own helmet. Rodgers wouldn't have a solid shot at replacing Brett until he retired, and Favre did a dance of retiring and unretiring several times, much like Tom Brady, until Favre finally landed on the Vikings. Rodgers and Favre played against each other several times over the next 2 years. Too much fanfare, until Rodgers won the Super Bowl with the Packers in 2010. Favre finally hung up his jersey for good that same year.
A little bit different weather than July, but this is Green Bay weather. I love it. I love it. I know we have to be quick. We have to finish this game, but...
And his beef with Rodgers fizzled out and faded. In interviews after his final retirement, Brett came out to say that there never were really any problems between him and Aaron. Then in the 2020 draft, the Packers again drafted a quarterback in the first round, Jordan Love at number 26. And who came to the defense of Aaron Rodgers? None other than Brett Favre. So despite their heated beef at the time, it appears that Favre and Rodgers have finally patched things up. For our final entry, there was definitely some beef, because these two fought each other with everything they had, and one of their careers was ruined as a result. That's right, I'm talking about Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier. Ali was famous for smack-talking his opponents before fights, but when he faced Joe Frazier, Ali locked in on him like a pit bull chewing a bloody steak, even calling Frazier ugly and an Uncle Tom. For those of you who don't know, an Uncle Tom is an offensive term used to refer to someone who's black on the outside, but acts like a white person. Frazier ended up using his fist to reply, and took down Ali in 1971 in what is called the Fight of the Century. 3 years later, in a non-title bout, Ali would go on to defeat Frazier. But in 1975, their rivalry snowballed into something much more terrible. In their final fight in the ring, Ali and Frazier went all out, and they almost killed each other.
And Ali is scoring on him.
Ali ultimately emerged victorious, but the intense battle had lasting consequences for his health. He contracted Parkinson's disease shortly after that fight, and Frazier would go on to take full credit for Ali never being the fighter he once was after their match. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those were the biggest athlete beefs.